What if your surname was the one thing that reminded you every single day that you didn't match anyone else in your home? Your mum has one surname, your stepdad has it, your younger brothers and sisters have it, and then there's you. 12-year-old Ellie told the court, "I want the same name as my family." Her dad said changing it would remove an important part of who she was. So, whose argument should carry more weight? And when a child is old enough to explain exactly what she wants, how far should the court go to respect it? Hello, and welcome back to Family Court, You Be the Judge. If you're new here, I'm Neil, and I work in family court as a professional Mackenzie friend, supporting parents through some of the most difficult decisions they'll ever face. Every week, I bring you a fictionalised family court scenario from England and Wales. They're not legal advice, they're designed to put you in the judge's chair. Please give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and don't sit quietly on the fence with this one. Last time, the court decided that the child at the centre of a home education dispute should remain at school. Now, we move from education to identity. In the teaser, I introduced Ellie. She was 12. She lived with her mum, stepdad, and younger siblings. Everyone in the household shared the same surname, except her. Ellie wanted that changed. Mum supported her. Dad objected. So before you hear anything else, choose your starting position. Option A. Yes, her surname should be changed to match everyone in the house where she lives. Option B. No, her surname is a key part of her identity and a link to Dad's side of the family. Comment A or B now. Then at the end, tell me whether the evidence changed your mind. The application. Because Dad had parental responsibility and wouldn't agree, Mum couldn't simply fill in a form, update the school records, and announce that the matter was finalised. She applied to the family court for a specific issue order. That meant the judge had to decide one focused question. Should Ellie's surname be changed? On paper, that sounds fairly contained. One child, two surnames. Pick one. Home before lunch? Family proceedings have a habit of taking something that looks like a one-line question and revealing that it contains years of emotion. At the first hearing, both the parents agreed on the basic family history. Ellie had lived with Mum for most of her life. Mum had remarried. Stepdad had been part of the household for years. There were younger children from Mum and Stepdad's relationship. They all shared the stepdad's surname. Ellie was the only person living in the home who didn't. But the parents disagreed completely about what that meant. Mum's position. Mum said the application had come from Ellie. Not after one bad day, not after an argument with Dad, and not because Mum had launched what Dad described as a campaign to replace him. Ellie had raised it repeatedly over many months. She'd noticed the difference more as she got older. At school, people asked her why her name didn't match Mum's. Friends asked why her younger siblings had another surname. On forms and appointments, the family names had to be explained. There wasn't one dramatic incident, it was the repetition, the reminder that everyone in Ellie's home appeared to belong to the same named family, except her. Mum said Ellie found that embarrassing. More importantly, she said Ellie experienced it as an exclusion. Ellie wasn't asking for a fashionable name. She wasn't trying to rename herself after a pop star or a footballer or whichever celebrity happened to be trending that week. She wanted the surname used by her mum, stepdad and siblings. Mum said she wants a name to reflect the family she lives with. She denied trying to erase Dad. Changing Ellie's surname wouldn't alter who her father was, remove his parental responsibility, or rewrite her history. Mum said it would strengthen Ellie's sense of belonging in the household at the centre of her daily life. And Mum added that Stepdad hadn't pushed for this either. He hadn't treated the surname as a medal he was entitled to receive for completing enough school runs. The request was Ellie's. Dad's position. Dad's objection was emotional, but it wasn't irrational. He told the court that a surname was more than administrative convenience. It linked Ellie to him, her paternal relatives, her family history, and the identity she'd had at birth. He feared that changing the name would be one more step towards replacing him. Dad accepted that Ellie lived with Mum. He accepted that stepdad had been involved for years, but he said, I'm still her dad. That name is part of her connection to me. And that matters because a surname change shouldn't become a backdoor adoption. It shouldn't be used to pretend that a biological parent no longer exists because another adult has become more involved. Dad said Ellie might feel differently when she was older, but at 12 she was focused on fitting into her current household. At 18 or 25, she might place more value on the link to her paternal family. Dad also questioned how independently Ellie had reached her view. He wasn't accusing Mum of sitting Ellie under a bright lamp and conducting an interrogation, but children absorbed the atmosphere around them. His case was that the court should protect Ellie from making a permanent identity decision based on a feeling that might change. At this stage, Dad's argument had real force. A child's wishes matter, but children don't always see the long-term consequences in the same way that an adult might. So, the court asks for more. The judge wasn't prepared to decide the application simply by comparing two witness statements. The real question was what Ellie wanted, why she wanted it, and how well she understood the consequences. So the court asked Kafkas to speak with her and provide a welfare report. And that's where the next part of the picture emerged. Stepdad hadn't arrived recently. He'd been in Ellie's life since she was young. He'd helped raise her through most of the childhood she could clearly remember. He attended school events and dealt with homework, illnesses, lifts, routines, and all the wonderfully glamorous parts of parenting. The sort of glamour that involves discovering at 8:12 in the morning that tomorrow's costume day is in fact today. He'd also made space for Ellie's relationship with Dad. There was no evidence that he'd asked Ellie to call him Dad. No evidence that he'd spoken negatively about her father. No evidence that he'd pressured her to take his surname. He didn't claim to be replacing anyone. He simply remained present. And over time, that consistency mattered to Ellie. The report also looked at Dad's involvement. It hadn't ended, but it had become limited and inconsistent. There were calls, occasional meetings and birthday messages. There was still affection, but there were also long gaps. Dad wasn't part of Ellie's weekly routine. He didn't know much about her current school life. He'd missed important events. Some of that was connected to distance and conflict between the adults. Some of it was the result of Dad's choices. The court didn't turn that into a punishment. This wasn't, you missed parents' evening, so hand over the surname. But it did matter when the judge considered the difference between the family connection Dad described and the family life Ellie actually experienced. Dad spoke about history. Ellie spoke about home. And the judge had to weigh both. Ellie's wishes. When Ellie spoke to Kafkas, she was clear. She knew Dad opposed the change. She understood that it would upset him. She didn't describe him as irrelevant. She didn't say stepdad had become her biological father. She understood that changing her surname wouldn't alter where she came from. That was important. There wasn't a child confusing a name with parentage. Ellie said she still regarded Dad as her father. She wanted to continue having a relationship with him. But she described Mum, stepdad and her siblings as the family unit she belonged to every day. She said, when we go somewhere together, I'm the only one with a different surname. She'd begun using the household surname informally with friends. She said it felt natural, and she repeated the sentence that had started the application. I want the same name as the rest of my family. Kafkas found that her wish was clear, consistent, and her own. She understood the emotional impact on Dad and that a surname change wouldn't remove him from her life. Her wishes didn't automatically decide the application, but they carried substantial weight because of the maturity behind them. The hearing. By the final hearing, the case wasn't really about whether surnames matter. Everyone accepted that they do. Dad's surname represented identity and family history. The proposed surname represented Ellie's daily home, siblings, and the adult who'd helped raise her. The judge wasn't choosing which man deserved to be called a winner. Family court doesn't issue a trophy for best overall dad with a smaller cup for improved attendance. That decision had to focus on Ellie's welfare. Dad asked the judge to preserve the name she'd carried since birth. He said the court should protect a connection that Ellie might appreciate more as she grew older. Mum asked the judge to respect the identity Ellie was expressing now. She said the court shouldn't tell a thoughtful 12-year-old that her sense of belonging carried less weight than an adult's fear of being replaced. Stepdad remained deliberately quiet. He supported Ellie, but said the decision wasn't about validating him. He would continue caring for her in the way that he'd done, either way. He wasn't asking for a reward. He'd proven his role through years of ordinary, consistent care. The judge's decision. The judge began with Dad's strongest point. A surname is significant. It can connect a child to a parent, an extended family, and their history. The court shouldn't approve a change merely for convenience or to mark the success of a new adult relationship. But those weren't the facts before the court. This wasn't Mum trying to redesign the family on paper. This wasn't Stepdad demanding Dad's place. And this wasn't Ellie making a sudden request that she didn't understand. Ellie was 12. Her wishes were long-standing and independently expressed. She understood the effect on Dad and that her paternal identity would remain part of her. Most importantly, the judge found that the name change would support Ellie's emotional well-being. For Ellie, matching the household surname wasn't a minor convenience. It was a meaningful part of feeling included in her settled family unit. The judge also considered Stepdad's role. He'd been a stable parental figure for years. He'd shown commitment without trying to remove Dad. The relationship between Ellie and Stepdad was not temporary or superficial. It formed part of Ellie's established family life. Dad's objection was genuine. His sadness was understandable. But the court couldn't decide the application by protecting Dad from emotional pain. The decision had to be made for Ellie. And on those facts, Ellie's welfare pointed towards the change. The application was granted. Ellie's surname would be changed to match Mum, Stepdad, and her younger siblings. After the decision, that didn't mean Dad stopped being Dad. The order didn't remove his parental responsibility or prevent Ellie maintaining connections with his family. It meant the court accepted that identity can come from more than one place. Ellie's original surname represented one part of her story. The new surname represented the family life she was living and the household in which she felt secure. Both meanings were genuine. Dad wasn't wrong to feel that something important was being lost. Ellie wasn't wrong to feel that something important was being gained, but the court decided Ellie shouldn't have to carry Dad's reassurance in her own name. The judge didn't rule that Stepdad was more important than Dad. The judge ruled that Ellie's welfare was more important than either adult's claim to the surname. So, did the judge get it right? Option A, yes, her surname should be changed to match everyone in the house where she lives. Option B, no, her surname is a key part of her identity and a link to Dad's side of the family. So yeah, comment A or B below and we'll see what you said. But also, tell me why. Did Ellie's wishes decide it? Did Stepdad's consistent care make the difference? Or should the court have protected the paternal surname? Most importantly, did your answer change as the proceedings unfolded? I'm particularly interested in whether parents, step-parents and adult children of blended families see this differently. Keep it respectful. This is a family law discussion, not the school WhatsApp group after someone's bought the wrong snacks. Please like the video if this scenario made you think, subscribe for the next judgment and share the episode with someone who will confidently choose an answer before watching and then spend the next 10 minutes reconsidering it. Next time, a 15-year-old boy refuses to spend time with his mother. His father says he's old enough to decide. His mother says she's being pushed out of her son's life. She says he's been influenced. The teenager says, I'm not going. Should the court order contact? Should it accept his decision? Or is there another way to protect the relationship without trying to force a 15-year-old through a front door? Leave your first instinct in the comments when the teaser goes live, and next time you'll discover what happened. But until then, you be the judge.